What's going on, YouTube? My name is Boned. You might have heard about me from some gaming or maybe some guitar playing, singing. But today we're going to do a job in my basement. So my laundry sink is tied to a pump. And this pump pumps it up to the sewage line because there's no way to tie into the sewage line down in the basement without pumping it up. The pump burned out and we're going to change it out with a very similar pump. We got a Vevor pump. We bought it off of Walmart. I'm not sure exactly who the manager or the distributor is, because you know how Walmart is now competing with Amazon, but I'll drop a link. 1/3 horsepower pump. It's got a float mechanism to trigger it, and let's check it out. So this pump, it doesn't come assembled. Here's the float. Okay, and here's the pump itself. And it only came with one tube to connect to the discharge, which is down here. So you're gonna need some threaded fittings, because as you can see, to pipe it out, this is the inner tube where it connects to the lid. That you need threaded fittings here. This is where the cords come out. Okay, and then there's also the inline to where it connects to the sink, goes into the pump. One of them is a vent, one of them is discharge. We'll see how it shakes out. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to be able to show you exactly what this is, but I'm drinking a potion of plus 50 plumbing mastery. Let's fucking go. I mean, let's freaking go. As you can see, there's a little bit of standing water in the sink. So I put a drain plug in there, and hopefully that helps us, because it was mid-cycle in the laundry when it crapped out. So we're gonna hope and pray that that plug holds enough so that we don't get too much spillage here. I'm gonna need to grab a bucket, and then we'll start getting to work here. So this is gonna be really funny. We got a Home Depot bucket here. Shout out to Home Depot. But we also got some Lowe's stuff. So these competitors, whichever one wants, let's go, guys. This bucket is gonna catch whatever is in the pipe when we open it up. So the first thing we're going to do here with the old pump, excuse the mess, is dirty. This is real life. This isn't some manufactured YouTube, you know, pristine little thing. We got the pipe up. We're going to kind of leave that there, but we're probably going to make a cut somewhere. I'm not going to mess around with trying to get these fittings cleaned up and reuse them, because I bought new fittings, whatever. This is our drain, or our vent. This is our drain. Okay, this is going into the sink. And now, since we've had this scenario happen, it's on a little bit of a slope there to give the gravity a chance to get it down into the pump. Since we've had this situation happen, I am going to actually install a ball joint shutoff valve under here for future situations, so that we don't have to deal with a massive mess. Alright, so we got everything positioned. My arms might get in the way a little bit, but hopefully you catch the drift. These right here are called PVC cutters. This one is gauged for 2.38 up to 2.38 inch pipe. First thing I want to do is I want to open this. This is Cobalt brand from Lowe's. Open that up, and then the way that it works is you just kind of squeeze, and it slowly goes in without putting too much pressure on the pipe, because you don't want to crack the pipe, but it just kind of slowly cuts through that pipe. Now, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take off that air vent. get some cobwebs out of the way. Make sure you wear nitrile gloves too, because this stuff can get real messy, and even though you can wash your hands, it's probably better not to get this stuff on there. Looks like we got a little bit of water leaking out of the vent. Just keep squeezing. Great. Nice. Huh. And that was just kind of hanging there. Alright, that's good. Well, at least we do have this kind of draining hole there. So hopefully that'll go down. Can't put the bucket under that. Alright, so the other issue is we got the cables taped up. I'm going to take a nice little utility knife and cut that tape so we can get the cables off from the old pump. And then pull that wire out of there. Pull this guy out of there. That's no longer necessary. Got bugs and dust down here, bro. This is not a fun job. But anyway, it looks like we drained out most of what we're gonna need out of there. This time I'm gonna kind of crank this on. You know what? We're gonna go a little bit further in like this. And then let's get the bucket set up. We can fit it under here. Oh god. Yeah, that's not working. Alright, we'll deal with the mess as it comes. It appears that most of it drained out the vent. Which, whatever. That's what dehumidifiers are for. We'll probably get something to soak it up. Okay. On to the next part here. This is right next to my oil tank. I think, yep, we're going to be good here. So, it reaches just far enough. Let's get that repositioned. This cutter reaches just far enough to get behind that pipe. bucket release. There we go. Alright. So we caught some water. I also sprayed you guys. Okay, so the old pump is out of there. It's highly full of water. Old basin. I'm gonna get this guy out of here. Now we're gonna try to do what we should have did from the beginning. We're gonna drain some water into the bucket. Try not to spill too much. Just enough to get this thing moved. It looks like there's a good amount of water in the discharge pipe. And that's probably because the check valve is preventing it from going back down. Because what good would a pump do if the water just moves freely back down? Alright, so we removed enough water to be able to move the pump out of the way. And we'll go and drain some more water off. Alright guys, so I just made a hell of a mess down here. But it just kind of dawned on me. So this pipe right here, that up pipe, so the way that it was installed, yeah, not today, but probably later on, I'm going to introduce a ball valve there, a shut-off, because I'm not sure the way it ties into the rest of the drain water. It looks like it just kind of actually is independent, and it's sloped a little bit. I just don't want that that opportunity, you know, for somebody to be like, whoops, I forgot I'm not supposed to flush the toilet, you know what I mean? So let's get back to it. So we got it nice and wet down here, and we're gonna start working on the pump itself, the new one. So actually first we're gonna use our handy dandy Home Depot bucket. I think it should fit under here now. Handy dandy Home Depot bucket to catch the rest of the sink water out of there, and hopefully we can get it out with too much spillage. So we're just gonna remove the plug. It's only a couple inches of water there. I don't think it'll overfill. Let's just check. Doing good. Everything's fine. Nice. At least we got the water out of the sink. That's good. Alright, here we go. So the next thing we're going to do is dry out this pipe. And we're going to put this ball valve on. Handy pack. Alright, we're going to put some purple primer in here.
Are you videotaping?
Yes. We're going to put some cement in there. Snug that bad boy in there. Alright, phase 2. Alright, so this is your discharge pipe that comes with the pump. I'm going to take these screws, make sure these bands are tightened down pretty good, give them a few cranks. That's pretty good. They were definitely a little loose. That's good. I think that's pretty good. You don't want to over tighten it because it might start cracking the pipe. So there's that. And then it's got that nice little check valve in there. So it can only come up, it can't come back down. Alright, so this particular model, the Vevor, this is the pump that goes inside the basin. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to thread this in here, but at the very bottom there's this guy here. You're going to make sure that's at least hand tight, maybe a couple cranks through. Make sure that's good and tightened down first before you do anything. And I like to give myself a little bit of a fail safe with everything on the threads, so we'll just go with the purple primer again. Prime it up. There's some cement on there. I got these tiny cans because it's one-time use, and you know, if you get these cans sealed back up, a lot of times it'll dry up or, you know, not be any good by the time next time you use it. So it's one-time use. Unless you're doing a lot of work, then you get the big can. So we want to make sure that we're catching the thread gently. Turn. This pipe is a little bit crooked, it appears. But that'll straighten itself out once we get it into the lid. Hand tighten that as much as you can, and that should be good. That is not going anywhere. And now, this part is the float. It comes independently and it has its own cord, but luckily you won't have to have two spots for it because you can plug it into the pump here, and so the float and the pump will both work off of one outlet. This float, however, has a bar here where it will attach to the pump itself. There's a screw. You take that screw out and then just tighten it down. Take the drill and remove that screw. Don't lose it. Put that screw through the metal rod there. And then somehow, oh, there it is. There's a washer that kind of flew off. Probably want that washer on there. Let's redo that. Find out where it goes and crank it in nice and slow. This is impact, so we're not going to overdo it. Okay, there we go. So float is attached to the pump, discharge pipe attached to the pump. Got the cords connected together. Now we're going to set it into the basin and line everything up. Alright, so you're going to notice there's 3 holes here in the top. Okay, one is your discharge pipe. The other is your intake, or your vent. This will be your vent. This is your intake. So we want to position this kind of the way that it was positioned before. So we're going to spin it around when we get that guy over under the sink. But for now, we need to line this up because this is where your cords come out. Okay, and you've got 2 cords. They connect together at the end, but you need both of those cords to come through here. And then there's a nice little gasket here for the cords to go through, and then it kind of lines up with the cords in there, and then there's a top that goes on that gets screwed down. So we're going to work on that. So the way this is going to go when it's all said and done, we got our cords through the bottom, out through the top, and then here's our gasket that fits over the cords, and this prevents the water from spilling out. You got to make sure these guys are lined up pretty good. And then we're not going to do it just yet, but there's this top part that screws down to like seal that gasket over the cords, and you're going to prevent all your spilling and stuff like that, and it's just going to kind of look like that. So then the other thing you want to do is you want to position your pump and your float inside so that this goes into one of these, and then you can cement that in. That way it's secure, creates a nice seal. So we're going to work on that really quick, make sure that's all said and done. Alright, so as you can see, it's kind of lined up. Didn't cement it down yet, but let's just open her up, take a look. So once we get that squared away, then we're gonna set it in. You know, make sure the alignment is all good and everything, and the cables are able to come out no problem. Everything's clean. There's no extra pieces in there, as we can see now. Let's just make sure. There we go. There's your float. And your float, the way this is going to work is as it fills up with water, it's gonna raise that up, and then once it gets to a certain point, it's gonna trigger the pump to turn on, and then that's when it goes up the pipe and out. So now we're just gonna do what we did before, throw that purple on there. It's a little bit messy, but I think we'll be all right. It's only going out, it's not coming back in, so get that cement on there. And then we'll put the lid on. Before you put the lid on, you actually want to make sure that your wires are through this floppy piece here. That's your gasket. That's going to seal the entire bucket from spurting water everywhere. And you kind of want to align these pre-drilled holes to the let's see. Oop. You just line them up because there's some bolts that go in there. So just line them up there. And then we'll recoat this and then seal it back. Alright, so I fiddled around with this for a little while, trying to put the gasket around the top here and line it up. It just wasn't working out. So what I did, I took the gasket. That's the rubber gasket right here. I just put it in the top of the lid and put the bolts through. So we're just going to have to be careful now when we tip it back in. And you want this cement to dry up pretty good anyway. So that was a good way to put some pressure on there for drying. and we got the gasket on, so then we'll just have to line the bolts up instead of fiddling around with the gasket too much. Alright boys, so now we're ready to put our lid back on. You want to make sure you catch a couple threads on either side. Let's make sure we're lined up. Looks like we caught a thread on 2. Is that catching thread? Yep, catching thread, 3 sides. And might need a slight shift. There we go. 4 sides catching threads. Alright, we're going to zip that down. Oh, like I said before, be very careful with this impact driver. If you're a gamer, you know what's up. Just kind of lightly. Bing, bang, boom. Don't let that fall off. That would be fun. So I'm thinking once it's all good and tightened down, that gasket should be in place due to the fact that we put the bolts straight through the gasket itself, held the bolts in place, held the gasket in place. And then we can give it one little crank. But we don't want to break the plastic, so one click. There we go. All right. There's the click. And these actually have metal threading on the inside, so you're less likely to crack anything. Alright, I think we're good. That's good. Now we got to worry about these threaded pieces here. So this is going to be your input, or I mean your air vent. It's going to be your input here. So we got threading to worry about here. So we're going to worry about that next and goop up some threaded fittings and get them in there. One thing you're going to want to do before you actually glue these guys down is just kind of make sure you can kind of get them in there as good as you can. You might want smaller threading. I don't know if that really matters by the time you cement it in, but make sure you can get it threaded properly. A lot of times these threads are just kind of, they're plastic, so make sure you get it in there. And then you're gonna probably want a wrench of some sort, maybe some channel locks or something, and you know, to tighten it down better and or to get it off. Obviously, you know, it's on there. I'm gonna take it off and glue it down, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Got my old trusty Cobalt channel locks, rusted as hell. Used them a lot, so we're gonna use that. All right, so we got these fittings in there good and tight. A little bit ripped up by the channel locks, but it's all right. Reason for the glue and the primer is just we don't want to take any chances. So I like to always be on the safe side. If these threads don't work out properly or whatever, then it'll get sealed up with the glue primer. So only thing we have left to do now is get these cables secured down. Work on that. These guys you definitely want to be careful with your impact. If not, just use a regular drill, because this is just going into plastic. Make sure they're lined up, and once they're torqued in, don't over tighten it. So basically all we did, like I showed you before, there's a gasket underneath this lid here. Line that gasket up with the wires. Wires are coming out. Wires are pulled through, so you have enough wire to get to your plug. And it looks like we're all set up and good to go. And now we can start working on actually piping this guy in. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pipe this guy in. So we got the main drain pipe is the most important to get lined up. So we're going to want to throw this 45 on here like that, and we're going to want to pipe in here 45, but we kind of want these 45s to meet somewhere and line up the rest. So first thing we're going to do, we're just going to pipe these two 45s together. That way it gives it kind of a trap style, you know, so that there's air that the water can flow up and it doesn't, you know, just siphon right back down. That's the way it was hooked up before, and I trust that judgment from a master plumber, which I know. So we're going to do that, and it's going to look something like this, like that, or whatever, and it's going to come straight down into there. So we're going to pipe these two together, and we're going to hook it to this here. We might get a better straight cut on that. We'll see. I don't know. And then we'll take it from there. So anyway, there's nothing you know, too scientific about plumbing. You just got to kind of line things up properly. So we got a nice little thing here. We're going to hit it with some primer and some cement and put each fitting on. Hit that perp. That nice perp. And then cement. Make sure you get that nice and good, evenly coated. And just slide that on there. And press down good as you can. And we'll do it to the other side. Get it on there nice and good. And then the main thing is positioning. So you want to make sure that they're opposite of each other. That's going to be the flow. That's the breather. So get that on there. Press down as good as you can. Let that sink in. Literally. And then basically at this point, this is gonna be our baseline of where to move the pump, because we want this hooked in directly to where that line is already. So we're gonna have to move the pump. We'll probably have to position it kind of like that. And then we'll draw another pipe down here. We're gonna have to measure that out, and then cut the pipe, and then make sure we get that in there. So we got that fitting dry fitted on. Then we got our measurement here. We want to cut right about, split that 2 in half there. That's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna get this guy fitted on. So a big thing to remember here, I got a couple 2x4s under here to prop it up just a little bit. That way we have a little bit of wiggle room to get this pipe on. And then once we get it secured in there, we may or may not keep that 2x4 depending on the leveling. We'll just have to lift it as needed, and we'll go from there. So we got the 45s on, and now we're gonna cement this up. We're gonna put this into the pump itself for now. That way we can work with it a little bit. And if we absolutely have to trim it, we will. But it looks like it's pretty dang close. You always want to make sure that you're not the guy that you know, cuts it short to begin with, and then you're like telling the boss, hey, I cut this pipe 5 times and it's still too short. So now we got the 2x4s out from under it, and we're gonna place them back there very shortly, because we're gonna need them to prop this thing up. We're probably gonna find something different to prop it up later, because I need to get it level with that drain. But let's do this for now. Ooh, that was sloppy. All right. Get it in there nice and good. And then, here's the hard part. Lift it up in there. And this is where you're going to want your 2x4. You might actually want another set of hands. You find somebody that will help you with this. Jam that 2x4 under there. Press down, press up. And then just kind of twist it to make sure we're lined up good enough. And then we'll work on that beautiful part. First, we're going to take a little intermission because we can, and it's YouTube, and I'll be right back before you know it. So here's another thing that we got going on. We got the sink up on these bricks to give us some room to work with, and they will probably come out from underneath the legs here. I don't know if you see. Yeah, it's a hell of a mess back there. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get that pipe into the ball joint there, the shut-off valve, and our shut-off valve is right here that we just installed today. So that way, if this ever happens again and the sink is full, at least we could do this without too much hell of a mess. I mean, there's always going to be a mess in plumbing, but other than that, we want to have a shut off there. And then I think later on I'm going to put a shut off on the up pipe here. somewhere along the line, probably up closer to the top, at least, you know, so we can keep the main sewer line going, just shut it off without the hassle. And once we get this line in to the sink, then we're going to work on the vent, which is the easiest part. That's, you know, we got this into the main drain line. Boom, that's the hardest part. The second hardest part is going to be hooking it up to the sink, getting that all leveled up, good to go. And we can maneuver this, twist it, and, you know, move it just slightly, you know, if we need to slide it this way or that way or whatever to get the pipe in. And then the last bit of the equation is going to be just kind of 90 over, and then couple up that vent that we had installed, and then she's good to go. So for now, like I said, intermission. We'll be right back. All right, boys and girls, we're on the final leg of our journey here with this pump piping in, and we're going to check this out real quick. So we want to make sure that we're getting a good eyeball on where we need to be. It's kind of hard to get the whole length of pipe back here, but I'm thinking right around this point. So if we got a number somewhere around the 7, just above the 7. That was a good try, but that was wrong. It's hard to kind of gauge that, so sometimes you want to use tape measures, sometimes you just want to eyeball it. I eyeballed it, so we got to add a couple inches on there. I'm going to cut right above this purple line. That's the easiest thing I had to mark with, so we're going to do that. Alright, so that's looking like good enough. First we're going to put the pump in, and then we're going to slap it into the ball valve, shut off. We do have some wiggle room with the line, so we can press that back in. The other one was just a little bit too short, so we're going to get this gummed up and put that in there. So we did end up needing to move them bricks, and we dropped the sink down. Oh god, this is so dirty and nasty. We clean this place up like 2, 3, 4 times a year, and it's just spiders get down here, dust gets down here, everything is down here. So anyway, only thing we have left to do is put this pipe in to the ball valve, and then we're going to put our air vent back on. We're going to 90 it over from here, so we're going to get a small pipe. It doesn't matter where or how far up it goes, because we're not venting this outside, which you probably should, but it's been working this whole time, so we're just going to run with it. That's the way they had it set up. That's the way I'm going to keep it. And if I ever find a vent to the outside from the basement, which I don't think there is one, then I'll do that. But for now, it is what it is. So let's do that. For tight spots like this, don't be afraid to, you know, hit that cement on the outside and the inside a little bit. Actually helps things glide a little bit smoother too. And then it just kind of glues itself together. So that's going to be good. We're going to press that together, and I'll just show you. Let's go. Houston, we have a problem. Alright, so I had to move this pipe on the other side of the leg. I'm not sure if that's the way it was before, but we'll live with it for now. I ran some water, didn't see any kind of drips. Everything's good, dry. So we're gonna 90 this out, and hook up our vent, and then we're gonna see, test run, plug it in, and see what happens. So here's our little piece of pipe that's gonna go down and then into the 90. We're just gonna put them together real quick. That's good and on there. All right, other side. Bing, bang, boom. Slide that down in there. Last piece of the puzzle. We're gonna have to, I want to keep that kind of against the wall where it's at, so we're gonna hopefully close enough. Probably just a longer length of pipe, or we could use one of these bad boys. This ought to be fun. This guy right here. No more glue, no more crap. So let's see if we can get a fit from here. Rather than your standard coupling. Loosen that up a little bit. Slide that over. Might need to loosen up a little bit more. And you know what? We'll probably primer and glue this too, because it might help things to glide a little bit better and stay on better. Oh yeah, there we go. So primer and glue. That's on there. And then tighten this down. That little flathead screwdriver. Just tighten it in. I think we'll be okay. Let's go for it. Worst case scenario, I can just throw a coupling in there. Which... Oh! What the hell was that? That better not have been what I thought it was. Oh, that was. We're gonna address that later. You rat bastard. Okay. We're gonna need a new vent top, but other than that, I think we're okay. So first we're gonna seal this bad boy onto the vent pipe. Just loosen that guy up. And then we're going to crank it down. Take this fuzz off my hat. I have to wash it now. All right. Let's see what kind of wiggle room we got to work with here. Yeah, we're gonna have to throw a coupling on there probably. Let's see. Right. Too long. Slightly too long. Okay. We'll trim a piece off of that. Because I want to be done. Alright, so we're just going to work with that. We're going to glue that bad boy on there. It's going to have to fit, or else I'm going to throw a fit. Let's go. And if it doesn't fit, we can actually trim it from here, so that's fine. Let's go. Coupling, standard coupling, 1.5 inches. Before we do that, let's kind of just match it up. We're going to pull probably 1 inch or 2 off the end of the pipe here. As you can see, I've had a long day. So I'm thinking this is going to be it. All right, one more matchy match. It looks like she's going to do it. So this time we're going to put it on the wall end, that pipe. And then we're just going to kind of squeeze it into the other one. I can't believe we had to do all that. That's crazy. Throw a little bit of extra glue in there. It doesn't really matter because it's a vent, but just make sure it's. Ugh. And then the final push here. Get it nice and purpley. I think we're gonna have to stand it. And there she blows. All right. Let's let this dry out for a minute and see what happens. We're gonna plug it in. Okay, so we got her plugged in. Last piece of the puzzle. Beyond that, we just gotta wrap the cords up around that pipe. We got enough cord there, so everything's good. This cord, we're just gonna taper to the pipe somewhere, whatever remainder. And for now is the test of time. This bad boy should kick on as soon as it float triggers. And let's make sure we don't have any leaks from anywhere. Not seeing no leaks there, no drips. No leaks on the side. Oh, we got something there. Not good. Not good. Actually, a lot of that's flying out of the sink, but that might not be good. I might have to redo that. Nothing coming out of here. Nothing coming out of the canister. We got just about everything right. It's not dripping out. Whatever is here, that's just splashing from out of the sink. Then turn that down. Got leaks at the top or no? I don't see it. I'm not seeing any leaks from the top, so we're good there. Only thing of concern is this joint right here. So I guess the job isn't completely done yet, but we're dang close. I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna shove this up to give us better leverage to push it down. So we're gonna have to take that off, clean it up, sand it down a little bit, and then redo that. There's the leak right there. All right, everybody, so I just showed you everything to do right and to do wrong. Things happen, you know. Job doesn't always go as a plan. So basically what we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to take this, we're going to cut it right around here, something, because all that is good from there down. We're going to throw a coupling on there. We're going to get new pipe. Well, we already have pipe here, but we're going to get new 45s because I don't feel like dealing with all that crap. And then maybe I'll clean them up later because I got to get this laundry rolling here. Put two new 45s together just like this, and then couple it back up here, cut it up a little bit, whatever. And then we're going to be good. So I'm just going to edit this video out, put it out the way it is. I'll come back tomorrow, re-upload after we get this all fixed up, and show you that it works. It is working. It is pumping out. Okay? The problem is, we got a small leak. We're going to fix that tomorrow. Thanks for watching. If you want to see the conclusion of this, please like and subscribe. Tell all your friends. I'm a real guy doing real stuff in a real house. I'm not in a freaking studio. I'm not at a stage. And this is what it is. I'm not a plumber. I'm a homeowner. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.